Welcome back. Hey, look, it's great to be soul with you wherever you are. Hey, we thought we'd share a bit of rural matter with you this week. As you can see, the girls have joined me. Pretty hungry, pretty ready to get into it, so we'll just move on. You have no idea how many moo, poo and cow jokes I've got, but hey, I'm just going to be the mature one and let you find them for yourself at home. This week we are looking at, I'm looking at Proverbs 4, and I really wanted to share that with you. It talks about whatever we think, basically, is where we go. So it's really talking about our thoughts and how influential that they are. And for me this week, I went off to work to do payroll this week, and I get to walk to work through that hedge, around that hedge now. And so it's a bit of a perk when you get to walk to work. And coming home, I was all ready to go into operation mode and get my could-be infected clothes off and into the washing machine. And as I came close to the door, I noticed my kids were so amped. I don't know what they'd been up to that morning that they wanted to share with me, but they were so pumped, they were excited, and they were like this at the window and waiting for me, and met me at the door. And I was obviously ready to get my could-be so disgusting infected clothes off and into the washing machine and into the shower, and I was telling them, could you please get the sanitizer now, put it on my phone, and I was in task mode. And I watched their excitement from their faces just drain as they went into Martha mode of get it done. Reflecting on that later and reflecting on that verse, I realised that I had missed an opportunity to see what was right in front of me this week, and actually what was most important to me. So just an encouragement to you guys this week, let's not miss what's right in front of us because of the attitude that we're in, or the things that we just want to get done. Let's make the most of actually the things and the people that are most important to us. Let's get ourselves tuned into Jesus so we can be better for each other and we can make the most of this time. Hey, if you're finding that you're too far away from the camera, or I'm a little bit too close, remember the old Zoom. If you've got a phone device or you've got a computer, remember you can use that Zoom. For me, when we're about to go and head to the studio in a minute to listen to Dee, I like to be nice and close with him, of course. But some of you will be practicing social distancing, and so just keep back. Anyway, sit back, make sure you got your coffee. Hopefully you've got your Soul coffee cup. If you haven't, make sure we get you one after lockdown. And we'll see you on the other side.
Hey Soul, so good to see you again. Welcome to Soul Online. If you've joined us for the first time, it's cool to have you here. If you're part of the family here at Soul, then welcome to you as well. It's just such an amazing thing to have happening. Like a couple of weeks ago, we weren't doing any of this. For those of you who don't know, we're in our All In series. We series everything through the year on the school terms, and this one is called All In. And we've definitely had to be that over the last couple of weeks. We've gone from having nothing online to doing all this online. And so big ups to everyone that's made that happen. It's been awesome. You're doing a great job, and everybody thanks you for it. So as I said, if this is the first time you've joined us, so cool to have you here. Check out the rest of the website and just have a look around. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. Like I said, we've been all into everything. So we've got youth on Thursday night, we've got preschool, we've got Kids Soul, and obviously this stuff. And it's also a great way to let us know if there's somebody in your community, somebody in your neighbourhood, somebody over the fence that is struggling at this time or needs groceries or can't get out to get the stuff for themselves, we're more than happy to be able to help with that. So we can organise for that to be dropped off at their house. And if you need to get in touch with us, please just do that via the website, and then we will get in touch with you and get the people what they need. So please just remember we can always help in some way. Hey, it's really, really good just to be able to, I guess, do this, which is really cool. So I'm going to stop and just pray before we get into it. So, Lord, we thank you so much for the fact that we can actually just still gather together, even though we're not under the same roof, Lord, we're still under you, and we thank you so much for that. Lord, it's been a crazy couple of weeks, and I don't think we've got to the real crazy yet. Our town's had a hammering, and there's a lot of people sick, and so we pray for them right now. Lord, we pray for healing in Jesus' name on every person in this town that is feeling the effects of this nasty virus. Just pray that they'll recover quickly, Lord, and they'll get back into this community and be the vital part of it that they are. So, Lord, we thank you again for who you are and the fact that you're bigger than all of this. And just ask that we remember that in everything that we do, every decision we make each day, every conversation that we have each day, that we'll remember that you're in it. So thank you so much again for who you are and for your son, Jesus. Amen. As I said, we're in our All In series, which has been really cool. So basically what we're looking at is how we can live an all-in life and how we can do things a bit different and give everything that we do, everything that we've got, instead of just being sort of half pie into things. And again, as I said, this is one of those things for us, like as a church and as an organisation that has had to change and grow and do things differently. It's been really, really cool, particularly in this series. So we're looking tonight at a parable or a story in the Bible that was told to us by Jesus, which is going to be good. I'm calling it Reset, and it kind of came about a little bit by, like for me, I'm not real technical, so all of this stuff's really hard, but fun, learning, lots. It's the hard way. But most of the stuff I have, it's got reset buttons or power buttons, and you can turn things off to get them going again, which is really good, because when I'm in the middle of something, even my printer at work, like I print something and it starts spitting out twice as much bits of paper as it's supposed to and all that sort of stuff. I'm just straight for the reset. If that doesn't work, I just pull the cord out of the wall, and that's how I like to sort things out, which is good. So there's a little bit about that this week, and we're a week out from Easter, and it's probably the biggest reset that you could ever have in your life is what happened at Easter. And so we're building up to that, and it's going to be exciting. It's good. We're looking at this part of the story this week and the second half of the story on Easter Friday, which is going to be really exciting. So looking forward to that. So I don't know, for me, I was thinking about parts of my life and things that I've done, and times when I just wish I'd been able to hit the reset button after something had happened. And I guess if you're honest too, you've probably got times in your life where you have the same thing. And so I'm going to tell you a little story about me and a time when I wished I had a reset button I could have hit, because it would have made a big difference. But it was a long time ago now. I was I think about 17. Had a mate who was a couple of years older, and he's bought himself an RGV 250. So if you don't know what that is, it's a road bike, two-stroke, V-twin, and they went pretty good for a 250, and they were pretty fresh off the assembly line at that point. I think his one was a year old, and so he just bought that, and I went around to see them one day, and he bought it on the Saturday. This was on the Sunday, and he was smart enough to ask me if I wanted to go for a ride. And, I grew up doing motocross, and thought I was pretty handy on a bike, so I hopped on this thing and went for a ride up Buckland Road before the Days Hobbiton was up there, so a lot less traffic, which was really good. So it wasn't a bad place to go for a ride, pretty safe. And I went up the road a fair ways, probably 5 or 6 k's up the road, and turned around and come back. And I'm coming back down the road, and I'm getting pretty confident, as you do when you're 17. Not too much scares you. So I was coming down the road there and coming into this corner, and I was just coming in pretty hot, and it was a bit tighter than I remembered it to be. And as I said, grew up riding motocross bikes, and apparently road bikes don't handle like motocross bikes. So coming into the corner and going a bit quick and locked it up. So I locked the back wheel up, and then it didn't help slow it down at all, and went straight off the corner and hit the clay bank. And the last time I looked at the speedo before the crunch, I was still doing 120 Ks, and it was it wasn't nice. So I was sort of partway around the corner when I hit the bank, and then went over the handlebars and just started barrel rolling down the grass verge between the deer fence and the road. Now, being young and stupid as I was, I didn't have all the gear on. I didn't have gloves on. I did have jeans and a t-shirt, and I was wearing a helmet, so that was good. But I remember rolling down the road and then looking back and thinking, what's going on? And then, the bike's coming towards me, and I'm sort of starting to stop at this point. This bike comes rolling down the road after me, and it stops and just nudges up against my shoulder. I was like, I sort of stand up and shake myself off and have a look around and, see what's bleeding and what's broken. And I was really good. Like, I didn't even have any scratches on me. There was no blood. Nothing felt that sore, to be honest. And then I went to the next thing, which is obviously the bike, and had a look at the bike, and it wasn't pretty. If you know those Japanese bikes, a lot of fairings, a lot of plastics, a lot of stuff that breaks when it goes bouncing down the road. So it was, a little bit of a worry. I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to take this thing back to my mate Jeremy and say to him, look, here's your bike you bought yesterday. It doesn't quite look the same. And it was just one of those times in life where you just wish you could have just hit that button and reset the decisions you've made and have a different perspective on what it was that you're about to do. And I guess as you grow up and you get older, you tend not to make so many of those mistakes because you hopefully made them when you're young and you learn from them. But, it was a big deal for me. I remember going around to Stacey's place afterwards and sort of told her what had happened, and she was really good. She didn't give me a hard time, which she probably should have, but I went from having not too many cares in the world to owing one of my good mates $10,000 in the blink of an eye. And so, there's things we do as we live and go through this journey of life that we wish we could reset and wish we could change and do different. And that was probably one I wish I could just pull the plug right out of the wall and not even have been there that day, and things might have been a little bit different for me. But hey, as I say, learn from it and you carry on. And we're going to look at a story now in Luke 15, 11 to 19. And it's, you probably heard of it. It's a pretty famous story, pretty well-known story. It's called The Prodigal Son, or the story of the prodigal son. And it's Jesus telling a story to illustrate love for someone. So let me read it to you. So Jesus told them the story. A man had 2 sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of the estate now before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between the sons. A few days later, his younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land, and there he wasted all of his money on wild living. About that time, his money ran out. A great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into the fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him. But no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and I am dying of hunger. I will go home to my father and say, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Please take me on as your hired servant. Now, some of you would have heard this story before, and as I said, that's half of it. We're going to look at the other half next week. And I guess for me, it's one of those stories that I just get because, I grew up on a dairy farm. I've got an older brother. There's only 2 of us kids in the family, and so I relate to it quite well. And my brother was probably a little smarter than me, and I probably got up to a bit more mischief than he did. So I can sort of understand, where this guy's at. And so I think for a lot of us, we can probably find ourselves in this story, and we'll talk more about that next week. But somewhere in that story we fit, and there's probably been times for all of us where we've made decisions like this son did, where he's said to his father, "I want my inheritance now." And if you know anything about this time, it was a custom then, if for the inheritance, for it to be split amongst the sons, and the eldest would get twice as much. So for them, he was getting 1/3 of this man's wealth, 1/3 of everything that he owned and was worth was given to the son, and he did it. But basically what he's saying to his dad is like, you're dead to me. I just really want your money, and I want to get out of here. And as I said, he took off to a distant land, and he got there and he had a whole lot of friends. Everything was going well because he had a pocket full of money. And when that money ran out, things changed. And so he finds himself in this pig pen, and he's looking at the pig's food thinking, that looks really good. It's not a very good place to be. From where he'd come from his father's farm, to the way his father looked after him, to now living in a pig pen and feeding pigs and wishing he could eat the pig's food, but still not being able to get any of that. And, it says in verse 17, it says, when he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I'm dying of hunger. And that's about in this story where he was hitting the reset button. He's just hitting that button saying, man, get me out of here. Like, I need to get back to where I was. I need to get back to the start. I need to get back to my father. And so often in life we have these same times where we can hit reset buttons, or we want to hit reset buttons. And we're living in a time right now where we can effectively hit a reset button. For most of us, we're at home. For most of us, we have got a completely different life to what we had a week ago because we can't go out. And I know there's people who are working in essential services, and we just want to take this time to say thank you for doing all that hard work, for stocking our supermarkets and working in our medical centres and our hospitals. You're doing an amazing job, and we want to say thank you for that, because you're putting yourselves at risk to make sure that we've got what we need, and we thank you so much. And so if you know a person that's working in essential services, just pray for them and tell them how good a job they're doing. Encourage them, because they're in the front line of fighting this thing that we're all hiding from. So please just remember them. But as we look at this and we look at what we're doing, and we're in this lockdown and we can't move and we can't do too much. And some of us are pretty lucky. As I said, we live on a farm, and there's a lot of farmers in the Soul family, and fairly much business as usual. And so we're probably a little bit jealous of you guys, and people are probably a little bit jealous of us. We're lucky we have a big backyard, and it makes a massive difference when you can get out and go and run around the farm, and life sort of carries on a little bit. But for most of us, we're sort of stuck at home, and we can't go too far, and we might be in sections that are quite small, and kids and small houses or whatever it may be. But it's a time where everything in life is different. Even if we are on a farm, we're still not doing the things that we do every day, and we're not doing them the same way. And so this is a time where we are forced to have a reset. And as Stace talked about last week, and we sort of mentioned at the end of Rodney's testimony, was we choose what we do with this time, and we choose what we focus on. And so for us, I think this time is just a good time to assess what we have. This young fella here, he thought the grass was greener on the other side of the fence. And I think we can all be guilty of that sometimes in life, is just going through life, always looking at what Joe Bloggs is doing and what Joe Bloggs has got, and how things look from our side to his side. But we don't know the story behind that, and we don't know how he got to be where he is. But now is the time to focus on what's in front of us. And for some of us, we we don't see our kids enough because we're working too hard, and yeah, we've got to provide and all of that stuff. But sometimes we can just wake up one day and wonder where the last 10 years went. And so we're forced right now to have a reset of what is important in life and what we use our time doing. And so, this story is just a great reminder of that. Old Mr. thought the grass was greener here. He got all Dad's money and he shot off to the faraway city to party up and to what he thought was living the dream. And then he found himself living in a pig pen, and things weren't quite as green over the other side of that fence as he thought they were. And, as I say, we've got a chance to assess or reassess or reset what we deem to be important. And for most of us, I know I am. I spend too much time on my phone and too much time looking at what's going on in other parts of the world and just miss what's right in front of me. And so, even though we're forced to, it's a good thing. And I think we should make the most of it, and I think we should take this reset time to have a good look at what we do value. Stace and I, for those of you who don't know, have been married for a long time, and we've been together since we were 15, met each other at Matamata College, and we always sort of tried to get out of this town, I guess, and we never really thought Matamata had too much going for it. And we decided about 17 years ago that we were going to go and live in London. Thought we'd go and have a look around in the big wide world. And so we moved over there, and we had fun. It was a different time for us. We didn't have any kids at that point, and we hadn't been married that long, and we had no dependents. We didn't have rent. Well, we had rent to pay because we had to live somewhere. We didn't have a mortgage to pay. We'd sold our house back here, and so the world was our oyster. And we went over there, and we had a lot of fun, and we tripped around, and we saw a lot of stuff, and we went all around Europe and saw different places. And we came back after 18 months, and I noticed stuff in this town that I'd never seen before. And some of you would have heard some of the story before, but we went all the way over to the other side of the world and came back here and saw stuff that was more beautiful than we'd seen anywhere that we'd been on our trip. And that always stuck with me. But when we were living here, we didn't notice it, because the grass is always greener somewhere else, and there's always more to see somewhere else, and bigger things to look at, bigger things to achieve. But sometimes what you're doing right here is the most important thing, and the thing that you're actually meant to be doing, but meant to be doing well. And so for me, coming back after living over there was a reset moment. That whole stage of our lives was a reset moment. We didn't have to worry too much about what everybody else around us was doing. They were all young, and our mates were there, and they were all just doing their own thing. And if you didn't want to go do something, you didn't do it. You weren't tied down to family and all the family occasions that you have to go to and all those sort of things. As much as we love them, it was a time for us just to be able to be us. And so there was a real reset time in our lives. And I can tell you right now that Soul would not be here today if it wasn't for us going and living in that place. So even though the grass looked greener and we thought we'd go and see some stuff we've never seen before, and stuff back here was just as beautiful or more beautiful when we got back, that journey was still worthwhile. And this guy's journey was worthwhile because he learned so much. The secret is stopping and pushing that reset button and assessing where you are and what you're doing and what is important and why it's important. And as I said, so for us, we got to focus on who we were as a couple and who we were in our relationship with God, and that birthed this church. And that's amazing. And, the point I'm trying to make is that we get an opportunity now. We're locked down. We can't do anything else. So now is the time to have a look at what we value, what we do with the time we have each day, how we treat those closest to us. I was thinking about this before. I was having a shower before I came to record this, and I went brush my teeth. And I thought, there's not much point in doing that. No one's going to smell my breath. And then I thought to myself, I wonder if we're like that now that we're in lockdown. Like, are some of us, just not sharing as much as we need to because, it's just a family at home? And I don't know whether it was a God thing or something, he dropped in my head, or just the thought that I had was, actually, they're the ones that deserve me to be smelling nice all the time, because they're the ones that I should be caring about the most. And so it was, quite a good thing to have a good think about. So, as I say, we're all getting a chance to reset and to change what we value and what we see and what we think we should be doing over this time. And so I want to encourage you to do that. I want to encourage you to stop and think and ask God what it is that He's saying to you in this time, and make the most of those moments that we may not get again, because we don't too often get locked in the same house as our family for a month. And it's pretty cool if we look at it with the right view and want to get something out of it. So remember the story of the prodigal son. Remember how he thought the grass was greener on the other side, but it wasn't. Remember how he hit the reset button and he said, I've got to get back to Dad. As we're coming into Easter, that's the story of Easter, and we're going to look more at this next week in the second half of this parable about the lost son. But in the meantime, during this week, just reflect on where you're at and what you're doing and what you can do different in this time, so that when we come out of the other side of this lockdown, we're better humans. We've got better relationships with God. We're fitter. We're a little skinnier. Working on that one, promise. But we don't come out the other side the same. We come out focused on what we're going to do to get our family through it, to get our family over it, to recover economically, whatever it is that we need to do. Like, let's have a plan. Let's hit the reset button and change what it is that we've been doing up until now. So thanks, guys. Utah's got a song for you now, and we wanted to do this just as a time to reflect, and you can just sit there and listen to them sing along if you want, and just use that time for God to talk to you about what you're doing in this lockdown period. Like, ask Him to highlight the things that you need to work on, and the things that He's been talking to you about and you've been ignoring because you're just a little too busy and it's been struggling to make ends meet and keep life happening. But now we get a chance to stop and hit the button. So make the most of it. So good to see you guys. And it's more of this next week, second half of the story of the prodigal son. Easter Friday, the most exciting time for us as Christians and followers of Jesus, is celebrating Him dying on a cross and coming back to life so that we could do this, so that we could have a life, so that we could live a life in eternity with Him. Have a good week. Don't get too stressed. Just chill out at home in lockdown. If you're out working, thank you again, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Open my eyes, I wanna see you. Open my ears, I wanna hear you speak. Tell me your thoughts, what's on your mind. I'll be your friend, wanna see through your eyes, wanna see through your eyes. Lord, I don't wanna rush on ahead in my own strength when you're right here. Lord, I don't wanna rush on ahead in my own strength when you're right here. I'm not in a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning starting to notice you are speaking. Lord, I wanna love like you, wanna feel what you feel, wanna see what you see. Lord, I wanna love like you, wanna feel what you feel, wanna see what you see. I'm not in a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning to listen, just rest in your nearness. I'm starting to notice you are speaking. I'm not in a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning to listen, just to rest in your nearness. I'm starting to notice you are speaking. Open my eyes, I wanna see you. Open my ears, I wanna hear you speak. Tell me your thoughts, what's on your mind. I'll be your friend, wanna see through your eyes, wanna see through your eyes. I'm not in a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning to listen, just rest in your nearness. I'm starting to notice you are speaking. I'm not in a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning to listen, just rest in your nearness. I'm starting to notice you are speaking.
I hope you guys got a lot out of that. I sure did. Hey, next week we have Easter Friday. We're having communion together, so make sure you get some bread and wine, juice and crackers, so that we're all ready to have communion together. Have a great week, guys, and hey, be like the cows and let's milk the living daylights out of this week. See ya.